Picture the last time someone left you out. Maybe it was a group chat you were removed from. Maybe it was a party you heard about after the fact. Maybe it was just a room where everyone already knew each other and no one turned to include you. It hurt. Probably more than you thought it should. And the real answer for why is far stranger and far older than you ever imagined. Your brain did not evolve to handle loneliness the way you handle a bruised knee. It was wired, across millions of years, to treat social rejection as a mortal threat. Not a metaphor, not a dramatic overstatement, a genuine biological life or death alarm. And right now, in your modern life, that ancient alarm is firing constantly for reasons your ancestors could never have predicted. This is the belonging effect. For most of human evolutionary history, you did not survive alone. That is not a poetic sentiment. That is a biological fact. Your ancestors lived in bands of roughly 50 to 150 people. These were small, tight groups in which everyone knew everyone. Everyone depended on everyone. And exclusion from the group meant one thing: death. No shelter, no food sharing, no protection from predators. A human cast out from their band in the Pleistocene era was not having a bad week. They were, statistically, already dead. Your brain learned this lesson, not intellectually, biologically. Deep inside your neural architecture, social rejection and physical pain share the same alarm system. This is not a guess. In a landmark 2003 study, psychologist Naomi Eisenberger and her colleagues at UCLA placed participants inside an fMRI scanner and had them play a virtual ball-tossing game called Cyberball. Mid-game, the other players, who were computer-controlled, simply stopped passing the ball to the subject. That was it. No words, no confrontation, just exclusion. And when the researchers looked at the brain scans, the results stopped them cold. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the exact same region that lights up when you feel physical pain, activated just as strongly during social exclusion. Your brain does not meaningfully distinguish between a broken arm and being left out. Both register as damage, both trigger a cry for help. Think about that for a moment. You stub your toe and your brain sounds an alarm. Someone ignores your message and your brain sounds the same alarm. The intensity differs, but the machinery is identical. This is why rejection stings in a way that feels irrational, because rationally, you know the group chat does not determine your survival, but your brain does not operate on rationale. It operates on pattern recognition, refined over 2 million years. And the pattern it learned is this: exclusion precedes extinction. Researcher Roy Baumeister at Florida State University spent decades studying what he called the need to belong. The idea that humans have a fundamental, near-universal drive for close, stable social bonds. His work, compiled across hundreds of studies and summarized in a foundational 1995 paper with Mark Leary, found that this need is not a preference. It is a drive as basic as hunger. When it goes unmet, the consequences cascade. Cognition degrades, emotion regulation collapses. In extreme cases, the immune system begins to falter. Belonging is not a luxury your brain pursues when its more important needs are satisfied. Belonging is on the same tier as food and water. And yet, your modern world has engineered conditions that your brain has no evolutionary framework for. Consider what happens when you post something online and it receives no response. Your brain cannot tell the difference between being ignored by 300 followers and being shunned by your entire tribe. The social rejection signal fires. The pain register activates. The ancient alarm says, you are being cast out. And you feel it in your chest, in your stomach, in that particular hollow ache that does not have a clean name. Or consider this. You walk into a party and see two groups of people already in deep conversation. No one waves you over. You stand at the edge, drink in hand, feeling something you might call awkward. But awkward is just the polished modern label for a prehistoric emergency signal. Your brain is not reacting to social discomfort. It is reacting to a threat to survival. One that, for 99% of human history, was entirely real. The mechanism that makes this so persistent is something researchers call hypervigilance to social cues. Once your brain has flagged a social environment as potentially rejecting, it begins scanning for confirmation. every ambiguous glance becomes a possible slight. Every unreturned greeting becomes evidence of exclusion. Psychologist Mark Leary developed the concept of the sociometer, the idea that your self-esteem is not actually a measure of how good you think you are. It is a gauge that monitors how included you are in your social environment. When the gauge drops, you feel the drop not as a cognitive assessment, but as an emotional alarm. Your self-esteem tanks not because you failed at something, but because your brain is warning you that your position in the group is at risk. This reframe changes everything. Low self-esteem in this light is not a character flaw. It is a survival alert that has been activated in an environment your brain was never designed to navigate. And the stakes of getting this wrong are staggering. Research by Holt-Lunstad, a psychologist at Brigham Young University, analyzed data from over 300,000 individuals across dozens of studies and found that social isolation carries a mortality risk comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. People with strong social bonds have a 50% greater likelihood of survival at any given point in time compared to those who are isolated. Loneliness does not just feel like death. In a measurable physiological sense, it accelerates it. The immune system weakens, inflammation rises, sleep degrades. The body, deprived of belonging, begins to wind down. Your ancestors did not need a study to know this. They felt it in their bones because their bones depended on it. So what does this mean for the way you live now? It means that every time you feel the sting of exclusion from a conversation, a group, a glance that passed over you, you are not being oversensitive. You are being human. You are running ancient software in a world that no longer matches the conditions that software was built for. Your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. It is sounding an alarm that once saved your life in a situation where your life is not actually at risk. The tragedy of the belonging effect is not that it exists. It is that you have inherited a nervous system calibrated for a world where your 50 closest companions were the entire universe. And you are now running it through a world of 8 billion strangers, social media metrics, open plan offices, and group chats that go quiet without explanation. The answer is not to override the signal. You cannot think your way out of a biological alarm any more than you can think away physical pain. But you can understand it. You can recognize the moment the ancient circuit fires and name it for what it is. A survival system responding to a social world it was not built for. Because the next time you are left on red, or passed over in a meeting, or standing at the edge of a room where no one turns around, your brain will call it an emergency. And now you know why. It is the same reason your ancestors survived. And it is the same reason, tonight, you will check your phone one more time.